Okay, so what we've got inside this case today is a cassette recorder, as well as various accessories to go along with it. Now, it looks like a pretty standard model, but it's a little bit unusual because this is a language learner cassette recorder. Now, these models aren't uncommon to find for sale in Japan on the auctions over there, but this one came from an auction in the Netherlands. Ralph from the DCC Museum spotted it for sale. He picked it up, he sent it over to me so we can have a good look at it here today. Now, the good thing about this one is that normally you just find the machine on their own. This one, being kept in a case, has everything you need to go along with it to be able to demonstrate it properly. So let's have a good look at it. So this set consists of a Sanyo cassette recorder, 9 language lesson tapes, some Grundig headphones and a third-party power supply, all stored in a regular off-the-shelf briefcase with hand-cut foam inserts. So clearly this combination isn't a commercial product, it's something that's been put together by an individual. All the documentation has been stored in the back of the case, including the promotional tag for the case. We've got 2 French language course books, instructions for the tape player in multiple languages, and we've also got an overview booklet for this course, which seems to have had a drink spilt on it at some point because all of its pages are stuck together. Now, for ease of filming, I'm going to try and run the machine from batteries. It takes 5 AA's, and of course I've been very careful to get a matching set. And once those were installed and play was pressed, I was very happy to see the machine is working perfectly. There's no belt change required today. Okay, let's just take a look around this cassette player to see where it differs from a regular tape player and where it's the same. I'll just look at the ports on the side. Power, ear, remote and mic. Now, the fact we've got an ear rather than a headphone socket indicates that that is a mono output, and indeed it is. Now, the rest of the machine doesn't really have anything else going on apart from on the top, so we'll have a look at this. Well, first off, we've got a nice little carry handle here. The case is plastic. It's made to look metal, as are these buttons here, but they're plastic as well. It doesn't feel bad quality though. It feels like a decent, well-made thing. Tape counter at the top there. The model, by the way, is the MA5LL, language learning, I'd imagine. Now, regular cassette mechanism here. Play, rewind, fast forward, pause, record, stop, eject. The difference with this one is that we have the ability to switch it between a regular tape player and this language learning one by flipping the switch here. You see it's in this normal position at the moment. Look at these windows here. In normal position, that is the tone and that's the volume, right? Watch what happens when I move this upwards. Those change now. We've now got teacher and student. That's controlling the volume of the teacher, the volume of the student, and also the speed of the tape can be controlled here as well. So the way this works is we've got 2 tracks on the tape on each side. We've got one that's recorded by the teacher and then the other one that's recorded by the student. So the teacher will say something, the student then records a reply to that, repeating the thing more often than not.
1 kilo de sucre.
1 kilo de sucre.
Peu de voiture.
Peu de voiture.
Now the interesting thing with this is when you press eject, these reset back to their normal positions. Now over here on the right you'll see we've got this section. That's an index mark which can be created anywhere on the tape. So if you wanted to get back to a particular part of this when you were recording, add an index on it and then you better rewind it, would jump you back to that section and stop. And an index can be on either the teacher's or the student's track on the tape. Let's try playing a normal tape in this and just seeing what kind of sound quality we're getting out of it. Okay, so we just pop one of Anders tapes in here to start with, and if we just press play on this, it just plays back as a normal tape. Not the greatest sound through this, the kind of sound that you'd expect from something that looks like this. Quite thin, but crisp and clear. Seems to be playing at the right speed. We can adjust the tone here. More muffled at the bottom, more tinny at the top, but not a great deal of adjustment there. However, this is in the regular playback mode, so if we just stop and move it into the language learning mode, So now we can listen to the left and right channels separately, but again, you won't notice much difference on this. If we bring the right one completely off and the left one up, and then swap them, and bring them both in, it sounds much the same because music tends to be mixed for the centre. So let's put our stereo test tape in here, and on this tape I've got left recorded on the left channel, right recorded on the right. So if we play it at the moment, because this has reset back to being a normal tape, we can hear both of them together.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
But if we stop that, bring it into the language learning mode, we've now got the left and right channels separate. So let's have a listen to this. We'll put both the volumes at the same point.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
Okay, we'll bring down the right,
left, 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 left,
and swap them round,
right, 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 right,
and both together.
right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
So I think that gives you a pretty clear demonstration of how this system works. The teacher records the audio on the left channel, the student on the right, and you can listen back to them both together or in isolation. I've just been checking that earphone output with my stereo test tape to confirm that it really is mono only, and it definitely is, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame because I don't think it would have took too much extra effort to have a stereo output on this with it having a stereo head, able to hear both the channels separately. You'd think that perhaps they'd found a way of mixing them in, putting them out over a stereo output, but that's not the main purpose of this. It is this language learning system which also doubles up as a regular mono tape recorder and player, and for that purpose let's just have a bit of a play around with the recording on this. I've got a blank tape here. I just want to first off try out this index mark system. Let's press record. Notice the play button goes down at the same time. I'm going to press the index mark there. You can see the light is on and it will go off after a couple of seconds. There we go. So now it's laid down the index mark on the tape and we can get back to this point quite easily. So let's just stop. Let's fast forward a little bit into the tape. So we've got some room to go back, and now we've got to play and rewind, and it will stop rewinding when it hits that index mark. And there it is. So now we can let go. The play button goes down at the same time. I'm going to press the index mark there. I'd imagine this was quite an expensive set back in the day. I think that's supposed to be Mont Saint-Michel in the background. Of course, this whole set is not much use to me. It's for teaching French to the Dutch, and it's all Dutch to me. I'm afraid I'm not great with languages. I'm still trying to learn this one.
La Sorbonne, par exemple, a toujours été une université très importante.
I'm supposed to be using the headphones with this, so then I can hear one track while recording the other. Let's just plug these in and see how this is going to work. I'm just hearing this coming through my left ear now. Madame, Mesdames, Mademoiselle. Okay, right, so let's rewind that now.
Madame,
Madame,
mesdames,
Mesdames,
mademoiselle,
Mademoiselle. I'll just demonstrate the speed control here. The centre position is marked with a detent. That's the normal speed. Fast is at the top, slow is at the bottom. It doesn't make a massive amount of difference because they'll want to keep the speech intelligible. It's just a matter of adjusting it up or down to suit your preferences. It seems more to change the age of the person that's speaking. Just have a listen.
Il y a plusieurs possibilités. Nous pouvons prendre la voiture. Entre Amsterdam et Paris, il y a une belle autoroute.
Oui, mais l'essence est chère. Et il ne faut pas oublier que les autoroutes françaises sont à péage.
Pour les gens très pressés,
il y a aussi l'avion.
Now, it's quite likely you'd want these language lesson tapes to be reused by multiple students, and indeed you can do that. When the student records on these, they're recording on track 2. The lesson, the tutorial part of it, is on track 1. So multiple students can re-record over track 2 without affecting track 1. Now, on a normal cassette recorder, a stereo one, you'd record tracks 1 and 2 as a stereo pair, or if it was a mono recording, it would record both those tracks with the same audio on them. This one, in normal mode, if I try and record on this tape, it doesn't record over it at all because the right protect notches are taken out. However, if I pop the cassette in and move it into the tutorial mode, the language lesson mode, now I can record despite the fact it's got the right protect notches taken out. But by recording here now, I'm only recording on track 2. Now, of course, to enable this additional functionality, the record head arrangement on this machine has to be different to your typical machine. On your normal tape recorder, you have the erase head first, which erases half the width of the tape, and then you have your record head, which puts down a recording on that half of the tape. Since on this one, we only want to record on a quarter of the tape, on track 2, the erase head is split, and that enables it just to erase track 2 while leaving track 1 intact, and then it's using a standard stereo record head, and again it just activates the second half of that to put down a recording on track 2. And it's this ability of the machine to record just a single track on the side of a tape whilst leaving the other track on there unchanged is what enables you to do some very basic 2-channel mixes with this device. Now, it does mention this as one of its additional features in the manual, so let's give it a go. So in this example, I'm going to lay down a karaoke backing track, and then I'm going to sing over that track, and then we'll have the two things mixed together. So to start with, we'll lay down the backing. I'm going to do that with the recorder set to its regular tape recorder mode, which means the recording gets laid down on tracks 1 and 2. Okay, so with the backing laid down, we then rewind back to the start. We switch the recorder into its tutor mode, and while listening to the backing track through headphones, we can now add in our new recording, which will get laid down just on track 2. And he shows them pearly white. And then finally you can rewind to the beginning and listen back to your masterpiece. Now you've got two choices here. You can play it back in the regular tape recorder mode, or if you go into the tutor mode, you're able to adjust the individual levels of the backing track versus the vocals.
Oh, the shark, babe, has such teeth, dear, and he shows them pearly white. Just a jackknife as old Macheath, babe.
Now, whilst the dual functionality of this particular model makes it more suited for playing back your regular tapes than some of the language learner devices I've seen, I still wouldn't really recommend it for that purpose. Whilst it's a nice little device with some interesting features, the sound seems more tuned towards speech than music, and with its mono-only output, I think you'd be better off looking elsewhere for something to play back your music tapes. Now, as I'm sure is painfully obvious, I've never attempted to learn a foreign language using a device like this, and therefore there are quite a few gaps in my knowledge as to exactly how these things were used. For example, once you'd recorded on the tapes, did those tapes then go off to someone, to a tutor who would evaluate your performance? Or is this purely something you would have done on your own? If you've used a system like this, maybe you can fill in those gaps in the comments. The only reason I thought this thing might involve a tutor side of things is because it's in a case. And I thought that meant that perhaps someone's been carrying it around to different locations, but perhaps this is just someone who wanted to keep everything nice and neat, and it's something that you buy for yourself and you purely work through all the course on your own. I don't know. But if it was someone who just wanted to keep it all together, well, it did a good job of doing it because it enabled us to have a good look at it. Of course, nowadays, you don't need all this stuff. You can just learn it via an app on your phone. Oh, and talking of which, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Bobble. No, there are no sponsors on these videos. The way that I can say no to the sponsors is because I've got patrons. So they're the ones who keep the channel going. Without the Patreon side of things, I'd have to take the sponsorships, but I'm not a big fan of sponsors interrupting videos. So thank the patrons for that. I'll thank them as well. I'm also going to thank Ralph for sending this over so that we can have a good look at it. Remember to have a good look at the DCC Museum if you want to know more about DCC. They've got a website for that. The only person remaining to thank in this video is you. So that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.